What's up, everybody? It is Tuesday night. It is that time to sit back, relax, pour yourself a stiff drink on a Tuesday night. Roll yourself something green, something thick, something juicy. Sit back and relax because it's shooting the shit uncensored. And I am your host, the bald, the beard, the beautiful Piers Austin. And tonight I have a very, very special guest. I have to watch my P's and Q's because Unsocial Jordan is going to be on tonight's show, shooting the poop censored. I think we'd agreed we'd rename the show. But anyway, I digress. Guys, before I bring out Mr. Jordan, I just want to take a quick second, a quick pause to thank some sponsors. First up is A-Rock Designs. Now, A-Rock Designs is that company you always hear me talking about. You can see A-Rock Designs on Facebook, on Instagram, on all the wrestling groups and pages. They make custom cups, hoodies, keychains, t-shirts. They made me my custom CM Punk tumbler, guys. You know I have it every single show. You know I love that cup. It's right here. Make sure you go and check them out, guys. They do a great product for a great price. Tell them I sent you. Won't do anything for you, won't do anything for me, but fuck it. I love it when people have something nice to say about me anyway. So anyway, guys, next up is Signal Studios. Now, Signal Studios is that recording studio that is now online only, baby. That's right. Head to signalstudios.com.au. If you are an independent professional wrestler, you're a musician, you need a beat, you need a mix, you need something at all, or if you need to send your music to him, he can mix, master, and digitally whatever he needs to do and make it sound dope as fuck. And you know what? If you are an independent professional wrestler, you do need to have some pretty cool entrance music. So, you know, the Cicadas band who provide my entrance music, those guys are insane and awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Make sure you check out the Cicadas band and Signal Studios. Man, I can see the chat is going off tonight. We got a lot of people here. Jared, Kyle, thanks for tuning in, guys. We got Joel Southgate as well. We got Leanne Purchase here. Man, thank you everyone for tuning in. Without further ado, I'm going to have to bring him out, I think. This is Unsocial Jordan. What is up, my friend?
Hey, Piers. Thank you for having me. Just want to say, you know, if you wanted to, you could just drink some water and enjoy the show with some nice non-alcoholic beverages as well. That's all I'm saying.
I'm sure it is, but I think the more people drink, the more interesting I become to them. So, I don't know. Hey, look, you know what? Let's have it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like, dude, I'm drinking water, you know, so all good. But, man, thank you so much for coming on the show. You know, like we were just talking, you know, prior to the show, and I was just saying how much I really enjoy your work and you know, from character to in-ring to promo, man, like I'm a big fan of what you do, and you do it really, really well. And when did you how long have you been wrestling, and like when did you actually first take your first steps into the world of wrestling?
I always differ on this answer, to be honest. I did start wrestling in 2009, 2010, technically speaking. I started training up for a company called AWP Underground in Port Macquarie, who's mostly known for their wrestling gear today. Now, I started wrestling when I was 15 at the time. So in the middle of 2010, when I first came to PWA boot camp, I trained at the time with Big Fudge, was one of the few people that was there in that boot camp class. But then 15, 16-year-old me had to go and finish university and finish high school and stuff. So like I kind of started wrestling, stepped away from wrestling, and then came back to wrestling. So I generally say I've been wrestling around 6 to 7 years. Not that long period, if that makes sense.
Sure. And what did you end up studying at university?
Bachelor of Public Relations and Media.
Okay, that's a pretty cool degree to get, and especially for wrestling as well, where we live in such a digital world, you know, and social media is so rampant. So it's probably like goes hand in hand, like a digital media degree in professional wrestling, right?
It really did. Like it worked out a lot better than I could have ever planned. Like I didn't really know what it was when I first was getting into it. But then you're exactly right. We learned all about social media and creating like blogs. It was back then because blogging was a thing. It's not really anymore. But also like how you would promote that blog through like Twitter and Facebook and the different channels you would need to use, which as a wrestler, especially today, is so important. And I know me saying that there's probably people watching like, Jordan, you're terrible at using Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, which is true. I acknowledge that. But it's also just my day job is on social media. So I don't necessarily want to spend my excess time on social media as well.
You know what? Like that makes a lot of sense. And, I do another a podcast called Wrestling with Tragedy, cheap plug for me, and with Angel Medina, who wrestled over in ECW. And I'm always telling him, like, dude, you need to get more on social media, like Twitter, Instagram shit. And he's like, bro, I wrestled in the 90s, dude. Like, I don't have time for this shit. He goes, I don't want to go and do that. It's like, I have to bust him every day going, dude, go and retweet this now. So I get it. Like, I think social media can sort of be like, especially for someone like you who does it in their day job, and then to come home, it's like, no, I just want to chill and watch TV or like go to the gym or do something else besides, scrolling through, people's posts and posting, so I can get it.
Yeah, but like, I mean, Joel Southgate, he said there in Twitch, I remember when I had vlogs, and absolutely it was beneficial for me as a wrestler when I used to upload the YouTube videos, and then I used to have the Facebook to promote it and Twitter to promote it, because I was able to like just add more to the character and have more screen time with people and things like that. But it's a lot of work to film a vlog, edit a vlog, promote a vlog. Like, you're running a podcast, a lot of hours in the day, and as life gets busier, it gets tougher.
Oh, 100%. And, when you obviously started, the Unsocial Jordan character, like, what was the main basis that you were going for with this? Because it is a very unique sort of style. Like, I think it's, I mean, people can say that the Right to Censor did it with Stevie Richards and those guys, but this is something different. This is not like, trying to be a network or anything like that. This is something completely different. And that's why I think I was so intrigued by it. But how did you come up with the concept of Unsocial Jordan?
I mean, the name itself was given, please. Fun fact, Jimmy Townsend was one of the loyal vlog watchers. So when he came to PWA, he was very excited to be in the last couple of vlogs that I was on. But the Unsocial Jordan name, so like originally I was wrestling under a mask, and at the time I just had like my username on, because I didn't want it to be my normal name on like Instagram and stuff, was Unsocial Jordan, because there was like this ongoing joke that I didn't like going to parties. I've never been that person. I'm quite unsocial. So that's why that name was there. And then we're doing the SMS stuff. I was tagging with Instagram as Blue Oni, and Central Coast Pro Wrestling, or Nui Pro Wrestling in the Central Coast. They wanted to book me in a match without the mask. And so the name they chose was just my username on YouTube and Instagram and things. So that's why it's Unsocial Jordan. It's not some well thought out thing. But then obviously we did the social media squad stuff for a little while with Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram. They all come and left and whatever. And then it was the turn of Black Label. So the first Black Label show we ever did, or it was the show before actually, but we were starting to become 18 plus. Like, it was Black Label before we were officially Black Label. The promoter of PWA came to me with the idea that everybody else was changing on the show. Like, everyone else was swearing before they did moves. They were becoming more adult, whatever. And we were these like goofy, cartoony characters, right? And he was kind of like, okay, I'm sorry, Joel Southgate, I'll get closer. Everyone was changing. And in contrast to that, he was like, I don't want you to change. I want you to kind of fight for the old PWA, like the kid-friendly stuff. And like the most obvious part of that is swearing, right? And like
100%.
It's one thing to be like, fans don't drink. They're going to keep drinking. It doesn't really change anything. But if I tell them not to swear, there's an obvious reaction that's going to come from that. And they bit hook, line, and sinker the second I said that Unsocial Jordan kindly request you not to swear line the first time. And it just kind of went from there. Everything about it is just about like what was original PWA and what makes Black Label different, and how can we emphasize that for our characters.
Yeah. And you know what, like, I think as well, like, having the character of, of saying, coming out saying, please do not swear, and saying it so politely as well to people that are like in the crowd. And wrestling fans are rowdy, bro. Like, as soon as you say that to a rowdy bunch of people, man, the first thing they're going to do is start screaming and hatred and all that sort of stuff. And instantly, man, it's one of those things that as a heel performer, that's the sort of reaction that you obviously go for at that moment, right?
Oh, definitely. And like, we just ran with it from there. Like, I know, like, this thing is just me covering my mouth because I don't like swearing. So, like, no swearing. That's the visual cue for it. We taped up people's mouths because we realized that was getting a reaction. It's just kind of, you learn what the crowd is reacting to, and you keep working on it and expand it. I didn't foresee the fact that I'd be wearing a turtleneck or running a cult or like any of that on our first show, but you have to adapt as you go.
Oh, absolutely. But, and even shows like the faith that PWA had in you at the time to take this character and run with it, because it was something unique that no one else was doing in Australia. And to have that faith in you, you know what, Jordan can do this, let's get him to do it, just shows the level of performer that they value you as.
Yeah, look, I have nothing but nice things to say about PWA and the trust they've put in me, not only in, becoming that character, and then, obviously they've given me so many opportunities since then. And still to this day, like, it takes a lot of trust. Like, even in this past Rumble show, available on Fight TV, I had a live microphone on the live stream, and that takes a lot of trust because live promos don't always go well. You have to be pretty okay at them, and obviously it panned out.
Yeah, I mean, was that the first time you'd done a live promo on any type of like recording or stream?
No, so the turn was, it was something with Jax Jordan in the ring when he was still a wrestler. I remember because I used to come out with a tripod because I was still vlogging at the time, and that was also a weird disconnect, right? Like, I was filming these vlogs being like, oh my God, hi, my life is so happy. Look at behind the scenes of wrestling. But then when I was in the actual ring, I was like, I don't like you fans. And that was part of the reason I had to like reconsider them. But Jax told me to F off. I hit him with the camera, and it went from there. But like, that was a live promo segment. So from day one in the Black Label, they've given me the microphone. And I think as long as you don't really stuff it up, the trust is still there, and it feels like it's still there. We'll see together, but it's going all right.
Yeah. So, does PWA say, hey, look, this is what we want you to say? Do they give you some form of script, or are they saying, hey, look, this is a couple of points we want you to hit, go out and do it? Like, is there complete freedom saying, hey, here's a mic, just do your thing?
It's, I like, we know where we want to go, I would say. Like, I've never been given a script. I've never been told any specific lines, like, stand with SMS, ladies and gentlemen, Unsocial Jordan kindly request you not to swear. All that stuff has been me. But look, I'm definitely not going to take credit for the original inception of go be kid friendly and go tell people not to swear. That wasn't me. I just turned it into what I saw it as and went from there. And then with every story that we do, it's a combination of both. It's not just me, it's the other wrestlers I'm working with and all the veterans I can bounce ideas off.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like giving you a little bit of rope and saying, hey, run with this and just see how far you can take this piece of string or rope or whatever metaphor you want to give it. But, as far as like, being, in the world of wrestling and, basically, have been performing for like 7 years, as you said it, but obviously, starting much younger and earlier. But, where did you envision once you did sort of break into the business? Like, where did you see yourself going? Like, was it something as a hobby, or was this something like, no, I want to go and hopefully get to WWE or New Japan or TNA, wherever it may be?
I find this question really hard because I don't know. Like, obviously, as a young kid, I wanted to go to one of the major wrestling companies. As a lifelong fan, that's what we all start off wanting to do.
Mm,
But I'm I'm passionate about wrestling. That's absolutely for sure. I'm passionate. I love doing commentary. Like being when I was injured last year and I got to join the commentators table, I had so much fun with Chris and Rose, and they're so talented in their own rights, helping tell these magnificent stories. But
mm.
then, like, I do love my real job. Like, I enjoy going to work and doing what I do. I'm a like media buyer, so I do Facebook ads for the most part. Um, so like it's hard to sit here and say like uh, my absolute one end goal in life has always been pro wrestling because it
Yeah.
hasn't always like I don't have this tunnel vision focus on it. Would I love to do more in wrestling? Absolutely. Um, will I feel unsatisfied in life if I don't? I don't think so because I really love what I'm doing in life.
You know what? That's funny that you said that because I was talking with Vinny Vane last night actually, and he is pretty much this in the same exact boat, like almost like word for word how you just said it. And it's like you and him are both phenomenal performers, and but also have different layers to who you actually are as people. You know what I mean? Like wrestling is part of your life, but it's not your entire life. And I think that a lot of people they get into wrestling and that's solely what they want to do and they pursue it wholeheartedly. And you see many people who do that become very, very successful. But I
Oh,
think now it's
absolutely.
like now I think there's in Australia there's a good mix of people that can be really, really great performers and not have wrestling be 24/7 them going through their head, having that sort of outside distractions or outside interests as well, I think is important to have as well.
Yeah, I do tend to agree. Like it's very easy to get burnt out with wrestling, especially this last year. Like I felt so bad for some of the people I was around who like are very passionate about pro wrestling, and I am too. Don't get me wrong, but I had something to distract me while we were in lockdown. A lot of people didn't have that, so I am very lucky in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, like, were you working from home during lockdown as well? So,
Yeah,
yeah,
I have a remote first job. I can work from home full time. I have it. I'm really lucky in that
that's
regard.
pretty cool, man. That's pretty cool. But like working from home, I've found like the times I've had done it is like I get nothing done because there's so many distractions in your house. Like, you know what I mean? Like, obviously, you seem like a guy who's pretty dedicated and can sort of sit down and switch that brain. But like, do you find it distracting when you can work from home?
Um, at times, yes. Like we're remote first, but we have a office that we can flexibly go into. So like, if I have a particularly meeting freak, sorry to the people in the chat. I know this is probably the most boring, mundane thing you've ever heard, but
Not
if I
at
have
all.
a
This is
pretty
what the show's about.
if I have a pretty meeting free day, I'll probably go into the office because that much freedom is not good for me. But if I have meetings throughout the day, I'm pretty okay to like join the Zoom meeting and then continue working and then join another meeting and etc. etc.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think that's definitely the smart way of doing it. 'Cause otherwise, if you're like anything like me, you're just not gonna get anything done. But
I mean, it's,
you know,
you got iPads and phones and like the whole internet at your fingertips, especially now with like New Japan World and WWE Network and everything you want on YouTube. Like you can be entertained while you should be worked. Not that I ever do that. Anybody watching this?
but you know what? It's funny. Like I sit down, there is so much wrestling at your fingertips, and I sit down like on independent wrestling TV, and I'm like, all right, what am I gonna watch? I'm like, oh, GCW, oh, Freedoms, oh, and then I end up finding that I'm sitting there for like an hour and a half, still undecided, just like what to watch. Like it's get one of those things, man. But as far as watching wrestling though, like, is that something that you can still do as a fan and enjoy it from a fan aspect? But obviously, being in the business for 7 years, like, has your view of how you watch wrestling changed?
Yes and no. I'm still a massive wrestling fan. I think it's important to expand your horizons on wrestling, so you're constantly looking at different flavors of thing. For me, it's easy to get bored of maybe a certain. I don't want to name any companies because I don't want to bury them at all. But
No.
like, let's say I'm really into watching the All Japan Kings Road wrestling, which is what I'm currently falling down into. I
Yeah.
might be obsessed with watching that for 2 weeks, and then I might really get into lucha wrestling and watch Triple A's shows on YouTube. And then I might really get into looking back on old ECW stuff. And because there's so much of it, like I've been a wrestling fan since I think 2004 roughly.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of wrestling like before I started watching that like I haven't watched. There's a lot of wrestling internationally that I've never watched. There's stuff like on independent wrestling TV that you mentioned. There's a company called Lucha Memes, and their technical wrestling is some of the best I've ever seen. And like, I love just finding new companies and falling down a hole, getting into them. Like I'm really into DDT right now. Like there's so much out there and so many different flavors. I think it's important as a wrestler not to harp on one flavor and get fatigued from that when you can flick the network or find something that will spark your interest in creativity again.
Yeah, man. And you mentioned stuff like that. I'm actually in the middle now of watching the Ted Petty invitationals from starting from one to to current day. So I'm trying to get through at least one a week at the moment. So with kids and everything like that, it can get pretty chaotic to get to watch wrestling. But man, you prove a really good point as well, as like being able to expand your mind and diving into things and checking them out that you haven't seen before. And it's kind of like music in a sense. Musicians always try and go and find that let the thing that no one else has heard or no one else has ever seen before and like listen to it. And the stuff that is that grungy underground stuff. And I think wrestling fans and hardcore wrestling fans, as well as like professional wrestlers, by diving into that, you're giving views to something which someone's put time and effort into to create art, but also can be really, really good.
Oh, absolutely agree. The actual one that I've currently fallen down is not new at all, but I'm currently reading Terry Funk's book, and because of that, I've been watching old Terry Funk matches. So like,
Fuck yeah.
people who watch me wrestle would never in a million years think Terry Funk fan, but that's the hole I've fallen down. Not so much the like deathmatch Japan stuff, like. I think the last match I watched at lunch today was the Funk Brothers versus Inoki and Baba in a tag team match in Japanese JWA, Japanese
Wow.
Wrestling Alliance. Like, but it's the flavor I'm into right now. I'm sure next week it'll be something different.
Yeah, it's the same, man. Like I go back and watch like old shows sometimes. It's like the other week, like last week, I watched Survivor Series '98, and I'm just like, this still holds up. Like this is still great. You know what I mean? And like, but yeah, like sometimes like I always try and find something new. Like once a week, I'll try and watch a new promotion that I haven't seen or heard of before, just to see what's out there. And man, a lot of times you'd be surprised, like on how great it is. So.
Yeah,
But
and a great place to discover new promotions is Fight TV.
Future Shock actually mentioned that as well. So you can, quick plug for PWA, being on Fight TV and being on Fight TV Live, you guys have, man, like that's huge. That is huge, 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 huge stuff that you guys have been doing. And I was at the last two shows that were at the Factory Theater, and man, the you guys blew the roof off it from bell to bell, match to match. It was amazing.
Yeah, thank you. I think we all obviously stoked to be on Fight TV. Ovo Play was also fantastic for us. Like it helped us start to get some attention. And like nowadays, the more live streaming, the better. Like I'm gutted sitting here knowing that I can't watch Robbie Eagles versus Mikey Nichols live. Like I have to wait for the replay, right? Like that's going to be a phenomenal match. But yeah, Fight TV opens us to a whole new market. And yeah, I'm really proud of the last two shows too. I think everyone in PWA is so proud of the work that they do and like working so hard because we want this to be built up, right? So everybody has their own characters and are contributing to the show in different ways. Except Ricky South, he's really tearing us down, but it is what it is.
I think as well, like, you know, at the first show that I went to, seeing you guys at the Factory Theatre, I'd only seen the Academy shows, and the Academy shows, I thought, for like the small intimate crowd of 50 that you guys put that show on, there were like, I was blown away. The first, you know, I remember speaking to people in the US the next day going, how was that show you went to? And I was just like, hands down, bro. Like, and I'm not trying to blow smoke up PWA or anything like that, but I said, look, hands down, their production value is and the quality of performers is up there with any promotion I've seen in the world. Like, and it was legit. And getting to see you guys at Factory Theatre, it was almost like seeing you guys perform at another level. And I don't want to say that the Academy shows were phoned in at all, but the Factory Theatre show coming out after lockdown, and that, like, you guys, everyone just seemed to have like a fire just lit straight up their backside and just killed it. As I said, you know, just bell to bell.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think too, like, the Academy shows, we're all so proud of the production we're putting on, and that's a full credit to Ben Anderson, Jax Jordan, Aiden on the sound, and the whole production crew, right? But also, like, there's something special there where we're so invested in the Green Dingoes doing well that we'll do everything we can to make sure that spotlight is available for them. And then come, you know, Factory Theatre, it's when we can be a little more selfish. And then the energy in those Factory Theatre rooms is crazy. Like, I picked up the microphone at the Rumble show and I genuinely thought, these people will not let me speak. Like, and how can we not all thrive off that, right? Everybody gets their great reactions there. And then, like, plug May 8th, when we come back to like Max Watts, which is kind of the home of Black Label, I can only imagine how excited and energized everyone's going to be from being in that building and being in front of that crowd. And Velocities versus SMS2, it has to happen. We need to pressure Snapchat Tyler Payne out of retirement, or me and Bell can give it a shot.
There you go. I think the challenge has been thrown down. I think someone needs to get PWA management onto this, bro. I'd be interested in seeing that match. You know, but as far as like the, you know, those Factory Theatre shows that went, you know, like I said, it's, you know, the energy in the crowd was something like nothing that I had experienced at a wrestling show before. And seeing, you know, obviously when you were out in that Rumble and about trying to cut that promo, I was sitting there going, is this going to turn into like a real frustrated shoot? Like, I can see the look. Like, were you agitated or were you just like soaking that in?
Definitely soaking it in. Like, also remember, like, the Academy shows, again, absolutely love being part of them, and wrestling in front of the 50 to 100 people that we get in there is amazing. But it was the first time, I think, I could be forgetting something, but like first time post-COVID that it was like a real PWA show, right? So I think we were all soaking in a little, and like, I can only imagine as a fan going back to wrestling, how excited you were to do all the chants and be part of the show and like make that show amazing. So it's also just a credit to the community that we've built of fans at PWA.
Oh, and you know, you guys have got a very hardcore fan base, you know, like, and that was something that I was just blown away with just seeing how you guys, like, the fans are almost like PWA, the family, just welcoming people in from the, like you said, the community base of it. And like every PWA show I go to, it's like I see a lot of the same faces there that really sort of support that company. And it's amazing to see that, you know, there's Australian fans out there that really want to see live Aussie wrestling at a very high level. And PWA is the place in Sydney to see it. You know, there's a few others, don't get me wrong, I don't want to say anything negative, but it is what it is. On that stage, on that level, you guys just take it, you know, to that next step.
Yeah, but I think it's kind of what we touched on before, right? There is other companies and there are other flavors for the Australian market. Like, we all need to exist for Australian wrestling to thrive. Obviously, PWA is just my home promotion, so the one that I will speak up as much as possible.
Yeah, 100%, and as you should. And I even like, and I said this to when I spoke to Rose, not Rose, Chris Gale the other week. It was, I brought a friend of mine to the PWA show at the Factory Theatre where the Velocities and MK Ultra had the ladder match, and my friend, he doesn't hate wrestling. He's not like fanatically watching it every single week. She was like, "Yeah, I'll come to a show with you, bro." Like and at the end of it, he's just like, "What the?" Like, his mind was just completely blown, bro. This is a 38-year-old man. It was just like, he's like, he goes, "Man, I went to see an Aussie wrestling show when I was a kid and was in like an RSL club, bro. But like, I never expected this." Like, he was just and at that moment became a fan, bro. You know what I mean? Like, he's been saying he wants to come to more shows and support this company because he was just like, this is insane. What they're doing is amazing.
Yeah, I definitely think one of the like coolest things for me being that, like, I started 2010, whenever it was. Yeah, I forgot about the ladder match show. I apologize. But there was a time when I wrestled literally in front of two people. Two people showed up for the show. I still wrestled the match because it was for video on demand. And like, there was a time when it was almost embarrassing to invite real life work colleagues and things to shows because you didn't know what they were going to turn up and see. I don't have that fear with Black Label at all. And like, I've had people from the real life come to shows and have the same experience as you and then want to come back, which is, I think, just so satisfying as a performer on the show and part of that. Those were the days. I don't know if they were, Paul.
But you know what? Like, as I said, my friend became like absolutely just enamored with it. Like, even driving home, it's like a kid going to his first show. You know what I mean? He's just going, "So tell me more about like, so who's this big fudge dude, man? Like, he's fucking insane. Like, what the fuck?" Like, and sorry, apologize for the swearing.
It's okay. Big fudge riles people up. I get it.
But like, he was just like, "Man, like, this dude is like crazy." He absolutely was in like, just loved what he saw. And to me, I was like, he's going, "Yeah, fuck yeah." I turned a non-wrestling fan into a mark. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, for me, I was like, proud moment of that. I'll take some credit for driving him, but but obviously, like I said, if I'd taken him to a show that wasn't as good as a PWA or an IWA or an FWA, it might have been a different reaction for him. You know what I mean? He would have just like, whatever, man. So, and never want to see another show. Jared, yes, I know. I will stop swearing. I apologize, Jared. Thank you very much. So, Jared and his partner Leanne, man, like, they are two fans that I see at every single show. And as soon as you come out, like, they're the first ones to pop up. And like, man, they are huge fans of yours. So shout out to them for tuning in, even though I'm probably not their greatest friend right now. They seem angry at me. So, but and obviously, we're talking as well before, you're married to Shazza McKenzie, who is also a professional wrestler. And, how is that being obviously being in a relationship with someone in the business is, obviously the stories of you hear from being in WWE and all that sort of stuff where, wrestlers are together and it's on again, off again, but it's a lot different here in Australia. But how is it to you guys? Like, when you see her get an opportunity, is it like a supportive thing, or do you have that hint of like, damn, I wish that was me, and like vice versa? Or is it just like, obviously wrestling's wrestling, whatever opportunity you get, I'm happy for you, and vice versa?
I think for any relationship in wrestling to work, there can't be that jealousy. I know at the end of the day that, I mean, except maybe at PWA, Shazza and me aren't competing for the same spots. Like, I'm there as her number one fan when she goes to AEW or when she wrestles on NXT. That's so awesome to see. Like, and it's not just, I think, because we're in a relationship and obviously there is some investment there. But like anybody having success in our PWA friend group and family, like, I can definitely say with my whole heart that I'm not jealous of anybody's success. I'm purely happy for them. I don't think, and I truly don't believe that people's opportunities come at the cost of others. I think that's just a very negative mindset to get into. If
100%.
if you're going to be presented with an opportunity like that, it's because you worked individually for it. It's not this person or that person. And I think that's how I kind of view it with Shazza. Obviously, very proud of everything she's achieved. She's one of the people who helped break down doors for Australian wrestling overseas as one of the Shimmer girls that went over there many a times. Former Heart of Shimmer champion. Like, she's a superstar. I think my only thing, I don't know if I necessarily, as characters, Shazza and me are such opposite spectrums on the show. So like, I never want us to be directly associated because we're married or anything like that. But in terms of just like on a professional level, very proud of everything she's done.
Yeah,
sorry, that was very long-winded.
No, not at all. Not at all. It was a question that obviously needed that answer, and to be supportive of everyone, and that was one thing that I'm always just impressed with PWA is the supportive network that everyone is for each other. There is like, it's like you hear the stories of the old school wrestling where it's just like so cutthroat and people are like shooting kneecaps out just to take a spot, and it's just. It's just, what I mean? Like, it's just why, you work together as a team, you get a much better result, what I mean? And a lot of well-known guys have turned around and said that over the years. I wish I would have worked and done, the job the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that evolution is kind of natural and healthy. And it's like I said, reading Terry Funk's book, reading about how Dusty Rhodes came to him and wanted to get into the wrestling business, and he refused to let him in. And like, they would bring people in and shoot on them to like protect the business. And like, we've come a long way from those days. Like, evolution needs to happen for the business to thrive and survive. Yo to you too, Mazamoon. Money.
Preston, thank you for tuning in, bro. He's one of the producers here at MWA Podcast Network. Thank you for tuning in, brother, all the way from the US and Kansas. But, I think, as far as, being, working together and shooting on people as they did back in those days and where it's evolved now, I think that just comes with us as a society over as a whole. It's like people know what pro wrestling is, and it's like back then, you hear stories of guys saying, well, you know what, like, we didn't even get smartened up that this was a work until like the night of our first match. You know what I mean? Like, which is just crazy. It's like, how do you train suplexes and this sort of stuff if you're trying to legit shoot on each other? I just boggled. But now I think it's more accepting to just sort of accept people in. And I've said this before, I think that pro wrestling has a place for absolutely every single person, shape, sex, race, whatever it is that wherever the people are from or whatever their background is. Wrestling is like that thing that is just for everybody. Like, everybody has a place in pro wrestling or has a particular spot that they can fill.
Yeah, look, I completely agree. And I think, like, we're all working to achieve the same thing. So why would we make it a toxic environment?
Yeah, 100%. And, that just, goes to show of what, how people have changed as well, like, and how the business has evolved. And that's an important thing because, man, if people went there and just had the living shit beaten out of them the first day they walked in, they're just going to go, fuck this. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this isn't fun.
I mean, you also think that when you're in the middle of doing 500 squats, but you power through because you got passion for the business. I do like it. Yeah, I'm happy with where we're at and how it's continuing to evolve.
Oh, 100%, and, as far as like, yourself, you mentioned that, you're quite content, but, if an opportunity came for you to go overseas or go internationally to do this full time, would that be a consideration for you at all?
Yeah, absolutely. Wrestling was my first love as a youngin'. So I definitely think that would be something I'd be interested in pursuing, even if it's not like full time. I work remote first, promoters of the world. I can travel and still keep my day job. So I would definitely be interested in advancing and just like exploring new territories as a wrestler, which is I accept is very hard in today's COVID world. But
have you wrestled internationally?
yeah, I did. So 2 years ago today, actually, I decided I should invest in myself and go do some training overseas. So me and Shazza went on a 3-month trip to America. During that trip, within the first week, as part of IWTV's family reunion, PWA had a sponsored match. So I wrestled. Oh, testing myself here. It was Steph Delander, Caveman Ugg, and myself versus Jack Bonza, Mick Moretti, and I want to say Belle Pierce, which I really should remember if it was her. But I can't quite remember. Anywho, it was in New York, so I did wrestle there. But then a week later, I was doing a training seminar, and I did a move incorrectly and dislocated my elbow. So 2 weeks into this 3-month trip, I injured myself out, and unfortunate. But Bell.
Seems like I've got the entire PWA locker room in the chat tonight. Thank you very much all for joining. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button. Do me a favor. But as far as wrestling overseas and being over there for that time, and man, it just sucks that you got injured so early on. But what was your experience? Because obviously you were there with Shazza and you were going to these promotion stuff. Did you find much of a difference to what is done here in Australia than what they're doing on the indies in the States?
I think it's hard for me because my time there before I was injured and housebound was I was at WrestleMania week, which isn't a fair comparison to standard independent wrestling because it's chaos. Shows on, in, out, next show's on. And it was fantastic. As a fan, going to all these different wrestling shows, both independent and top level companies. And then before that, or maybe it was just after, I was there to watch Shine and Shimmer Weekend. So I was there when they did the tapings, which is 2 hectic days, 2 or 3 shows a day of these 8 to 10 match cards. And that's not standard independent wrestling either. So it was different, but it was different because of, I think, the situation I was in specifically. If I would have been, going to different towns and seeing the average everyday independent show, I'd be able to have a better apple to apple comparison to what we do in Australia.
Would you like to go back and have another crack at it? The States, I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Yes. Short answer. That's it. That's all I got, Piers. I'm sorry. I feel like I should be able to expand. I didn't have a bad experience there at all outside of
it sounds like it was more of a frustrating experience, if anything. Injuries happen and shit happens. It's apologize for swearing again. I know I'm going to get blown up in the comments, but I think as well, that would be frustrating as well, knowing that you've spent all this time to get to this moment, to spend the 3 months to get injured. That obviously would be frustrating. And I think the short answer being yes is it just shows how eager and keen you are to go back and hit that point that you want to go over there and I think show the States what Social Jordan is all about. I think the character would go over really well over in the States, to be honest.
Yeah, thank you. It was definitely frustrating. I knew going into that first trip, it was more about just training and learning as much as you can and meeting people. So even after I dislocated my elbow, there was 2 more days of the seminar, and I went to both those days to listen and still absorb knowledge. And I went to a couple training sessions just to listen, even though I couldn't get involved. So I still did try and absorb as much as I could. Not exactly what I had in mind when we set off for this grand adventure.
Oh, I can imagine. And, being over there, was it do you meet contacts? So then if you do go back, you at least have an in with certain people by going and being around these shows? Or was it because you said before, you're not a very sort of social person, you're a bit withdrawn.
Yeah.
But how did you find that?
Look, I don't think it's My wife is pretty well connected in the wrestling world. I'll say
Yeah.
it. And that gives me a natural in with people. And also, like, our coaches, Robbie Eagles, Madison Eagles, Mick Moretti, whenever any of us travel overseas, they're more than happy to lend a helping hand and vouch for people and do what they can to help you get places. Like, that's part of our community and network. So there's that. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That you've got support there, and obviously, the success that Shaz has had as well, and the network that she has sort of can definitely assist in that. And man, that's exactly how not just pro wrestling works, but that's how the business world works. It's not always what you know; it's who you know and how you can get connected to that. And that's how the world operates on any sort of industry. So the pro wrestling world isn't any different.
I'm feeling a lot of pressure not answering any of these questions coming through.
You know what? Why we can go to the we can go to the audience, for some questions here if you like, Jordan. First one is Joel Southgate. He said, "If it wasn't for Unsocial Jordan, I would be a YouTuber. He inspired me to become a YouTuber, and it's paid off big time. So thank you, Jordan." There you go.
I'm happy for you, Joel. YouTube's hard. Keep that up. Also a lot of fun though.
That absolutely is. If Piers swears again, we're gonna have to start a cancel. Shut up. I'm just kidding.
Sorry, but this is the last show, Piers. Shutting you down.
This is my last show, 105 episodes, and Unsocial Jordan gets me cancelled. Or the following from SMS. But as far as for the rest of 2021, what's that got in store for you, man? Like what do you have goals for 2021? Obviously, live wrestling came back late last year. This year, what do you have planned for yourself? What are your goals, I should say?
I don't like, in terms of goals for this year, just based on the current world, I think it's sensible to be working towards goals, locally speaking. And for me right now, I've never had a singles main event at PWA. Done a lot of tag team main event. I hope I haven't forgotten a singles main event. Definitely haven't challenged for the heavyweight title. So I think that's a definite goal for myself, just to really establish myself as a singles wrestler. I have spent the majority of my career in different tag team combinations with Instagram, who's now Carl Fletcher, and Snapchat or Tyler Payne before he left wrestling forever. So like it is kind of new ground for me, which I think might sound kind of surprising because I have been involved in a lot of singles matches. But to really, I guess, move up the marquee in PWA, definite goal. And then also, I've never wrestled in Western Australia. I've wrestled in Queensland. I've wrestled in Victoria. Wrestled in the Australian Capital Territory, if that counts. Wrestled in South Australia. So, like, I think that would be the other goal, to make it over to Western Australia.
Oh, mate, it's definitely seems like an achievable goal, especially in the current climate that we're looking at. Jared says he believes Jordan versus Ricky South would be an awesome match for the PWA Championship. I'd actually have to agree, because the first show that I saw, you came out and did a spot with Ricky where you jumped him, and I thought, okay, this is going to be a build up to something. And then it's like, we haven't seen anything since. And I was like, I even said to Ricky, I think it was off air, I'm like, man, like, I really think that you and Unsocial Jordan could have this really fucking killer match and tell a really good story behind it. Like just going back to that, late last year with that attack. But that's just me being the wrestling armchair Mark Booker that I am. So don't mind me, bro.
I mean, it's a shame it's not the caveman. That's all I'll say.
Dude, absolutely, man. And but look, let's getting into, and even Shazza says, and let's go to Tasmania. So there you go.
Okay.
But guys, it is that time of the evening for 60 seconds with Piers. Now, I have told Jordan what this is about. I'm going to fire rapid questions at Jordan, and he's going to answer them, and we're going to give him a time frame of 60 seconds. So as I said, these are just sort of nothing questions. So just to see how quick that we can have him on the ball. So let me get my time. Oh shit. Okay. Stop. There you go. Sorry. technical difficulties, guys. But all right, Jordan. So let me bring this up. When you're ready, you let me know, and we'll start the clock.
Okay, let's go.
Home barbecues or nightclubs?
Home barbecues.
What sport did you play as a kid?
None.
Which wrestler, past or present, would you love to go out with a drink with? Go have a drink with.
I don't drink, so a nice coffee. Shawn Michaels.
If you could ask Vince McMahon one question, what would it be?
Oh, I guess it would be, what advice do you have for aspiring wrestlers?
Okay. What would your autobiography be called?
Ironically social.
If you could take all the credit for any film in history, which film would it be?
I don't really watch movies, so the Mortal Kombat movie, a cult favorite. Not the
Biggest
new one,
pet
the
peeve?
old one.
Biggest pet peeve?
No, the people chewing with their mouth open and making chewing noises.
Weird food combo that no one likes, but you do.
I don't think I have any weird food combos. I'm a pretty bland person.
Time that is done. You know what? Talking about weird food combos, my wife is about to pop with our third child. And the first time in any of her pregnancies, she's turned around and said, I'm really craving watermelon with peanut butter. And I'm just like, what? So, yeah, that's how that question became.
I saw a TikTok the other day of somebody eating tuna and ice cream, and I've never thought of something more disgusting in my life.
Oh, I think I just threw up a little bit in my mouth.
Let's do a loser eats tuna and ice cream match somewhere.
On a pole.
I don't know.
On a pole. It has to be on a pole. I think it should be on a pole where someone has to climb for it. But Jordan, where can everyone find you on social media and buy some merch of yours?
My username is at Unsocial Jordan on everything. I ironically helped start Wrestler Merch, but don't actually have a merch store on there for myself. So if you want merchandise, I can't help you.
There
Buy
you go,
Shaz's
guys.
merch instead.
There you go. Head over to Wrestler Merch and search Shazza, buy a shirt. It goes to a great cause. Social Jordan. So guys, look, without further ado, Jordan, thank you so much for being on the show, man. I've had a lot of fun talking to you, and the hour's gone really quick. And I feel like we could have gone on for another hour and a half, bro. So
thank you. I will just add before I jump off, if anybody is interested in becoming a professional wrestler, we do have an open tryout at the Pro Wrestling Academy on May 25th. So if you're interested in that, prowrestlingaustralia.com.au. Had to get the plug in, Piers. I assume
no, absolutely.
Listening.
Absolutely. And make sure you follow PWA Australia over on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you have your social media at. You'll see PWA's posters. I'll make sure to share those as well to get the word out to all the amazing people that want to get into this world of wrestling. But Jordan, thank you so much, man. It's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you to everyone for tuning in live and for watching this episode. I really appreciate it. Thank you to our sponsors for A-Rock Designs and Signal Studios for all the amazing work that they do and making this show possible. But guys, until next time, make sure you stay tuned to our social media to see who my next guest will be. And that'll be dropped in the next couple of days. But guys, stay safe, stay well, and watch pro wrestling. Catch you next time.